My name is Melinda Gordon. I just got married, just moved to a small town, just opened up an antique shop. I might be just like you. Except from the time that I was a little girl, I knew that I could talk to the dead. Earthbound spirits, my grandmother called them. The ones who have not crossed over because they have unfinished business with the living, and they come to me for help. To tell you my story, I have to tell you theirs.
Originally, the way this show sort of came into existence is that James Van Praagh was aware of a woman who is known as Mary Ann, and she's in Ohio, and she does this. She is a ghostbuster. And James had a relationship with CBS. They've made a couple of movies about his life and his work. And I have a long-standing relationship with CBS as well. So they called me at CBS and asked if this is something I'd like to think about and be interested in. So I kind of went away with that thought and started coming up with a notion of who a person like that would be, that would work in a television series, and what that character would be, what her relationships would be, what her family life would be. And so I sort of came up with a story outline for that, and then I brought it to Kim Moses and Ian Sander, who are old friends of mine. They produced my first TV movie way back when, and they got really excited about it.
And so we then went to CBS and we pitched it. And during the pitch, we got Mary Ann on the phone. We had James with us, which everybody was very excited about and gave a sense of celebrity and grounded the project. And then we got Mary Ann on the phone, and she started telling the CBS executives about how she ghostbusts. And everybody was so enamored with this idea, and that there actually really was some grounding to the project, that by the time we got to the parking lot, CBS had called and said they wanted to order the project. At
first, we weren't sure. We were thinking about maybe trying to make the character a little bit older, more established in life. But then we started thinking, wouldn't it be interesting to show somebody who's really brand new, who's just out there in the world? And then that seemed to give us a lot more potential, I think, for stories, and to really empathize with somebody who hasn't quite figured out yet how to live with this gift. Because we look at it as if you had the power to heal, to cure someone's illness, would it ever be okay not to do that? Probably not. No matter what it meant, you had to give up. And of course, it's not the same equation, but her constant conflict is, I can do this, I'm able to do this, I can help people. Do I have to do it all the time? Can I ever say no? And that's a conflict we're trying to build into the show as we go along.
You can see me, can't you? Oh, come on. You can too see me. I'm not blind. All right, yes, I can see you, but you know what? It's really not a good time. It's a small thing. You have to tell Joe the key to the safe deposit box is in the pocket of my blue raincoat. I left it there the last time I had it, and there's so many papers and insurance things.
How can I tell him something like that? I mean, what's he gonna think?
Excuse me. I am the one who's been hanging around here for who knows how long trying to find some way to let him know. So who has the bigger problem, you or me?
We decided early on that Jennifer's character, Melinda, would own an antique shop. Because, as James pointed out to us, his feeling is that very often there are ghosts attached to antique items.
What's this?
And for us, that was just a great potential. That was just a great chance to bring ghosts into her life, bring spirits into the store, have the store be haunted, and be able to have a real palette of interesting, diverse ways for stories to come to us, to anything that comes into that store. I modeled it after the town that I live in New York, which is a town called Nyack, right outside the city. And my real goal had been to shoot it there and just never have to leave my house if I could help it. So I wanted to set it in a small town where everybody kind of knows each other and you feel safe and you belong. And then ultimately, that sense of everyone knowing each other, will come into conflict with her eventually, because people are going to start finding out what she can do, and will they believe her, or will they think she's a nut? And rather than doing it in an anonymous city, big city, there seemed to be a lot of value in keeping it in a small town and making her an important fixture of that small town. And we could develop other characters in that town and keep it sort of contained.
And also, let me tell you, in the casting of it, which was very interesting, they all freak out. People freak out in this business about, we gotta get the right person because we gotta have the right demos, we gotta go do this. Who are we gonna get? We must have seen hundreds and hundreds of actors and actresses. It was after a while getting hysterical. But I said to them, do not worry about our lead. We're gonna find an actress who falls out of another pilot and she'll take our show. said, well, I don't know if that'll happen. I said, but trust me, it's going to happen. And indeed, that's exactly what happened.
Are you a social worker or something?
I get that a lot. Not really, no.
Jennifer Love Hewitt had done a pilot at ABC, a comedy pilot, that she was waiting to hear on. We knew about that because she was in the office next to us at Touchstone. She had a deal there, we had a deal there. And when that show did not get picked up, we, as the vultures we are, stood on her doorstep with a script.
I barely made it halfway through the first time without stopping to sob uncontrollably because I'm a complete mushball, and I thought it was just really beautiful and sad and great. And when I finished it, my first initial thought was, how would I feel if in 6 months I turned on the television and another girl was playing Melinda Gordon? And I was like, that just can't happen. It can't happen.
The reason we chose her was because we needed two things. We needed a female that was very beautiful and accessible and sexy and very youthful-oriented, kind of like the 21st century girl next door. And then we also needed somebody who could go into a haunted house and we could say, you go first and I'll follow you because it's too scary. And that's a tough thing to juggle, and she embodies both of those, and she's a fabulous actor.
And as you see with Jennifer, her eyes pull you in. And I like that particularly because when you're dealing with a subject matter, you need to engage your audience. And she's not bad to look at too, but she's very soulful. I call her eyes very soulful eyes. And she's very genuine and believable and truthful. And that's who she is, really.
There's a lot about her that I really look up to. But the core of who she is, I think we're very similar people, which is why it's nice to be able to play her every week, because I feel like people get to know her, and through knowing her, they get to know a little bit about me too, which is nice.
You're telling me you're talking with Julian? Like his dead ghost or something?
Yes.
Yeah, even I feel his presence.
I feel his presence. Bet you've had a few sleepless nights.
The most difficult role, very often in television to cast, are those males between the ages of 25 and 40, 28 and 40, who are good-looking, good actors. David was one of the first ones that we had talked to. Then we made a deal with him. Then he wasn't sure he wanted to do television show. He wanted to go do a play in Pittsburgh. We had to convince him, no, this was a better idea for his career. We convinced his agent that it was a better idea for his career, and we were fortunate enough to get him. But I will tell you, he was cast 3 days into shooting the pilot.
We had no time, but we kind of instantly bonded. I mean, the wedding thing was a great thing to film first because David and I really had to find our chemistry right away, because you had to see at the beginning of that show that these two people were going to be people you wanted to watch be in love over and over again.
They wanted a character for a David Conrad character. They wanted someone that people could relate to. And they didn't want to be a lawyer, they didn't want to be a doctor, but they wanted something that people really could relate to. And I came up with the idea of a paramedic. And I thought, you know what, that's really good, because he helps people who are almost passing over. And she's helping them once they're passed out of the body. And I thought we could do a lot of stories with this. They could really, their worlds could come together. It'd be a very interesting way of them coming together.
We cast David Conrad because we were looking for a real guy's guy to be married to Melinda. We wanted somebody who was very accessible, not necessarily blue collar or white collar, but somebody who could have a lot of heart because he is a rescue worker, and at the same time who had some backbone and also a lot of strength, both physical and emotional.
He's simpler than I am, and I envy that. I envy his concentration, I envy his patience, and his choice to walk away from a more lucrative and sort of high-powered life. Not that I live one, but sometimes I kind of wish, gee, I wish I lived in a small town or taught acting or, was a teacher someplace. And I like playing a guy who kind of actually did that, He moved out of Manhattan, he didn't enter his dad's firm, and he helps people.
David and I talk about it all the time that, one of our favorite elements on the show besides Ghost is our marriage. They write our marriage really unique and special, and it's nice to be a part of a marriage on television that actually inspires people to want to go fall in love and maybe get married again or get married in the first place, versus other relationships on television which just make you want to go, okay, I'll wait.
Ever seem weird to you that we're both kind of in the death business?
What?
I used to think, in a funny kind of way, that I could keep them from you. Lighten your load.
We really, because we toyed a lot with that character and how we would play that. Would we have this person not know what she can do until after the wedding, and then she would tell him? But ultimately we decided that, no, this is a guy who is He's a regular guy, he's a working guy, and somewhere in the backstory, he found out about what she can do, and he embraced it and supports her.
Jim and Melinda are very sexy together. And what we had worked out with CBS was that there are so many dysfunctional relationships on television right now that we would thought would go the other way and give them a really strong, healthy relationship where he actually does support her in this gift that she has, as odd as that gift is. And that relationship has gotten a lot of traction on television.
Ow! What kind of paramedic are you?
Their relationship is sexy because it's youthful.
So, I'm just thinking ahead here, but, maybe we should expand.
Oh, Andrea, it's 1 month's profit. We're not Walmart yet.
That's it. We should franchise. Okay. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that was ghost-related.
That's not funny.
I wasn't joking.
Not you, him. You are messing with the wrong person, pal.
Can't we just ignore this guy and maybe he'll go away?
It's always my first plan. It never works.
Aisha Tyler was cast, once again, many, many women. We talked about we needed someone who had some comedy chops. We needed someone who had some drama chops. It was important that Jennifer has a friend that somehow grounds the show. At the same time, we want someone who can pop.
It's a difficult role because you have to project a certain empathy. You have to be very involved in who Melinda is and what her problems are. But it's not the front and center role, of the show. And yet I think in every episode, Aisha just stands out and makes it so much her own because she's just so unique as an actress and as a person.
Well, that takes us to the 90s.
I liked your hair in college.
Right. I'd rather be chased by the haunted hiking boots than look like that again.
It's interesting. I think Andrea Marino's character, she's very kind of observant. She's smart. She's snarky. She's got that little nice sarcastic edge to her. And she's very loyal to her friends. She's very supportive. She's very loving. I also think that the thing on the show that's most like me is the relationship that Andrea has with Melinda. Love and I were really lucky in that we didn't know each other at all before the show, never met until the first day of taping, and just instantaneously hit it off. And so a lot of the way that we relate on the show as characters is built on our real life friendship, which is really nice. It's nice to come to work with friends. We have a really great time making the show.
I think that's why we can get away with having only 3 main cast members, is the relationships are so strong. You don't really need anybody else. And sometimes the triangle is the most important thing in a person's life. If you have your best friend and you have your partner, you're okay. And I think that's how Melinda feels about the both of them.
And roll camera. Hey. And dolly. And action. And action.
The wonderful thing for director on Ghost Whisperers is you get to work in 2 very distinct areas. One is the personal area, having to do with people's stories, their wishes, their desires, their family, the drama of their lives. And the other is the visual aspects, which are very challenging and very unusual for television.
We do a lot of special effects in the camera to create the feeling of our ghost, the ghost point of views, or the strange happenings, the things they cause to happen. What's inspired me is the accounts of mediums and their descriptions of what they feel. It's not so much what they see. If they're to be believed, if we believe the mediums and what they say, is they feel and sense and see and hear the spirits. They're not so solid. So I'm trying to create a feeling of the immaterial quality of these spirits. I try to show how they metamorphose. So sometimes we see them, they're very sketchy and smoky and very hard to see. They're just a blur. And then they become more solidified and solid and they contact Melinda. Those transitions are very, very important in our treatment of the ghosts.
Well, you have the spirit world to deal with. And you have characters who are there for Melinda, but not for the rest of the world. So the challenge is to photograph them in a way that she perceives them and no one else does, and to move them around the frame or move them around the set so that it is graceful and elegant and believable.
I actually have the easiest job because from most, I do really get to see pretty much everything that's going on, whereas the other actors are constantly playing to the air and having to do these big emotional scenes with their supposed loved one that they cannot see. And they're stuck with me standing there going, hold on, he's talking. And I feel really bad for the actors. And I actually have a very privileged part of it because I can see them. So for me, it's always kind of a real thing.
I gotta tell you, I didn't realize that spirits were this, like interactive, I guess?
Earthbound spirits usually are not. There's definitely something going on out there. It's like they're getting stronger.
This is a show that week in and week out, we get to make a different kind of show. One week, it's a horror film. Another week, it's a comedy. And another week, it's a combination of the two, or it may just be a human drama. Yet, in the end, you get to cry every week.
You know, one of the hooks we've always thought of in writing it is, and what I tell the writers, if anybody on Earth had a chance to speak to a dead loved one more time and get one more message or give one more message, who wouldn't want to do that? Whatever your belief systems are, you know, if you were given that opportunity, almost anybody would want to do that. And that's what we sort of put forward in this show.
It makes me see how important this longing is for people. And the fact that in some sense we're all haunted or possessed by memories or not haunted in a bad way. Haunted can be good, haunted can be lovely. That is with everybody, and everybody longs for it, to speak to that person, to send that message, that's why we're singing songs, we're talking to ourselves. We're looking for that imaginary ghost or that person or that someone we lost, and everybody has that on one level or another.
What I hope works about our show is that, you know, we don't ask you to believe in supernatural, we don't ask you to believe in ghosts, really. I'm not sure I do. But we just ask you to believe that it might be possible.
I definitely was open to it. I think I've always been open to that stuff. I think there's something very comforting about wondering if there's other people here with us besides just who you can see. I think that's kind of neat and, I don't know, comforting somehow. So I definitely was open to it, and, you know, now I find it very hard not to sort of believe in it every day.
It hasn't changed the way I look at the supernatural. I've always been someone who, you know, bring it on. Show me an apparition. You know, Bigfoot down the street, yeah. Loch Ness Monster, I hope it exists. Things like that, you know. I just have never seen it, you know.
Oh, wow. That's surprising.
It's the TV. It's,
On the fritz?
Let's fix it.
Okay, yeah. Honey, did you touch the remote?
No. Who's that?
Oh, this is my husband. Jim, say hello to Kitty on the couch.
Hi, Kenny.
Hi.
What is going on?
Well, I think it's the electromagnetic field messing with the TV.
You just had me talk to a ghost.
How'd it feel?
Strange.
The hours in 1 hour episodic are just brutal. And you know, it's very difficult for the actors because they're doing things over and over and over again, you know, different angles. And the actors are they're very generous with each other. They're always there for each other, even if they're not on camera. But if they're in the scene, they'll always be there, bouncing lines off each other and helping each other. And they have fun. They really have fun on the set. They're a great bunch to be around.
We have a lot of extracurricular activities on the set, a lot of partying, a lot of dancing, a lot of music. This is a big kind of like cater-in set. It's a really, really fun place.
Jennifer and I work together really, really well, but when Aisha comes on the set, it's like I become like Zeppo Marx. I'm the quiet one. I'm the straight guy. They are, truly, it's like Ghost Whisperers gone wild.
This is a very, very happy set. The crew is happy, the producers, the writers, and it all comes down from Jennifer. I mean, she's a wonderful professional. She has a great sense of humor, wonderful spirit, and everyone feels that. Everybody senses that. And I think that's true of any show. When the star comes on, the star really gives you a sense of what the show is, of what the crew is, of what the environment is like.
It's been an unbelievable experience. I mean, it's really been one of those, for lack of a better word, like those Hollywood experiences that you read about in a book where you go, wow. Like a 15-year-old in Wisconsin would hear this story and go, that's why I want to be an actor one day. Like, this is what you strive to be a part of, as a group of people like this who all are doing the same thing and working really hard to like make something special.
I do believe that this season on the show has been most rewarding and a real growth experience, both personally as well as professionally. And I think that the show has really grown as Melinda, as Jim, as Andrea have grown in their roles. As the show has found its style, it has certainly grown. And we are nowhere near where this show can and will go.
Our show is about life. And we make it nice and put nice gift wrapping with the scariness and all those interesting stories and make it like spooky. But when you really look at it and you take it apart, there's a real human drama, and there's real emotion, and there's healing in every single show.